Alright everybody, hello and welcome. This is something I've been looking for ever since the new F1 game came out, and that is our first league race in this year's game. And starting off with some bad news, unfortunately I forgot to change my recording settings. So long story short, this is Q3. This is a full qualifying that we are in. And unfortunately, we are picking up here in Q3. Just got done with my first run, and I will be making a second run here in Q3. But between now and that second run, I can use some time to explain what exactly is going on here. So the league that we are racing in here is one of the probable 3 leagues that I will be competing in this year's game. And it is also kind of unfortunately that my first league that I race in of my 3, like the one that started the earliest, is also the most difficult one because this grid is absolutely stacked, and that is Hyperdrive Esports. This is a multi-tiered league. This is the second season that this league has existed. Last season they had 7 tiers. This year, well, this year is in this year's game, they have condensed it to 5. We will be doing a full calendar, and it will take about 6 months. They generally, by their schedule, they plan on doing kind of 2 seasons in each game. So this season will take up half of F122's lifespan, and they'll do one more. But yeah, we are getting ready to set another lap on fresh set of softs. So far in qualifying, because this grid is so stacked, and last season we came second in the championship, even though we had, I don't want to go into it, we had a very unfortunate season. A lot of bad luck with safety car timing, getting caught up in incidents, etc. I really felt like I didn't get a chance to really show my full potential, but hey, still had second in the championship. And a really difficult, really talented league like this, that is still, as far as I'm concerned, pretty damn good. So coming into this, it's a new game. The grid's stacked. I have no idea what to expect. Are we going to be a back marker? Are we going to be a championship contender? Who knows? So the same thing that you hear me talking about my road to Masters, I'm applying here. I'm just going to do the best that I can do, and hey, we'll see where that puts me. After all, I can only control my own skill. And coming in this, I do feel well prepared. I feel like I had good qualifying run practice. I feel like I had good race practice. I feel like I learned a lot about how the car feels on heavy fuel compared to light fuel. I feel comfortable with the setup, yada, yada, yada. We're feeling good, so hopefully we can put in a good lap here. Our first lap was P8 here in Q3, and it was on a worn set of tires. So in Q1 and Q2, the way I take things mentally is I literally think I don't care what happens in a session, in a qualifying session. It's one session at a time. Don't take anything for granted, especially, like I said, we don't know where our pace matches up because new season, new game, it could all be mixed up, who knows. So just because we were a front runner and got, I believe, 3 or 4 pole positions last year doesn't mean that we'll be doing that here. We got through Q1 and Q2 without too much problem, but we weren't really nailing our qualifying laps. Same with my first run on that used set of tires here in Q3. Didn't really nail any laps, so I did use more sets of tires than I want. So this is the only fresh set of tires that I have here in Q3, and we are now bombing it down the front stretch, hoping to get a good qualifying lap in here, ignoring mentally the cars on my inside, brake as late as possible, and I feel like we have a really good turn 1 here. Cutting the curb a little bit, but not too much that it unsettles the car. Shortest run as possible. Coming up here, we want to use the outside, mount the curb on the outside, make the track as wide as possible so you don't have to steer sharply, carry more speed through the corner. And yeah, so far it's a great lap. Coming here, I turn in just a little bit too early. It unsettles the car, and I immediately just decide to back out of it because I knew this lap wasn't going to be an improvement, and I knew that this was a pair of soft tires that I was going to use in the race. So I'm just going to absolutely baby these tires all the way around the track to the pits. And as unfortunate as it is, we'll be in the back half of the top 10, but hey, at least we did what we needed to do to ensure that we made it through Q1 and Q2. While I would love to be starting, I feel like with my pace, I could have been somewhere around 5th or 6th, which isn't great to our standards, but still better than where we are now. It's still a lot better than trying too hard to save sets of tires and getting knocked out in Q1 or Q2 and starting, 13th, 16th, whatever. So as frustrating as it is, we just didn't nail our qualifying, but I'm still feeling confident about my ability to be a consistent driver in the race. Historically, in other F1 games, I've been more known for my race pace than my one 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 lap qualifying pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I'm still feeling confident, and mentally I'm just saying, hey, I'm just gonna do the best I can do, and we'll see where we're at. Early on in a new game, it's all about learning, and that goes not just for racing games, but literally any video game that you try to play at a competitive level. Everyone focuses so much on the technical side, the skill side, which is important. Don't get me wrong. But that's something you more or less improve over time as you gain muscle memory. But the one thing you can really control is the knowledge side. The more you know about the game, the better. The more you know how the game's going to react when you do certain things, the better. And yeah, I just try to act as a sponge, just absorbing as much information as possible about the game and about myself and how I can improve. And right away, I've learned one thing. I need to make sure I'm nailing my qualifying laps. This wasn't a disastrous qualifying, but it could be a lot better. And these little things could add up over the course of a season. But like I said, still feeling confident, still mentally calm, and I'm just ready to get after in the race because I love league racing. It's so much fun. I just love the F1 game in general. It's a lot of fun, and being able to play it against a lot of other competitive, very talented drivers, it just makes it feel so rewarding when you get a good result racing against a bunch of people that are easily top 1%ers in the game. And yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. And a little bit about the league that we're racing in. I basically said its name and that it's a 5-tier league. And of course, this is the top tier. It's called Masters Division or Division 1, whatever you want to refer to it as. This is the top tier of Hyperdrive. And I have it here on my phone. I can pull it up. Hyperdrive is a league that has kind of been a combination of other leagues that have merged together. Those leagues include ALR, which I'm not sure what that stands for. The league that I came from and I was racing in when we merged into Hyperdrive, Parabolical Esports, which was another multi-tiered, very talented league. And the third league was WNR, also known as Wednesday Night Racing. So this league is basically a culmination of all three of those leagues put together. And yeah, we will be racing in this league. For further notice, basically, it's extremely talented league, extremely good depth, a lot of admins involved, a lot of people involved, and I will try to remember as soon as I can, once this video has been posted, I will put a link to the Instagram. This league has an Instagram, it has a Twitter, and it has a Twitch. These races in the division I race in are streamed at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time in the United States, so that would be 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time on Sundays. So if you guys want to check it out or give them a like and follow and support them, because I'm just a guy racing in it, and I wouldn't be able to do so if it wasn't for the people that do the hard work behind the scenes. So if any of those guys are checking this out, thank you to you guys. Do appreciate what you do and enable us to have this awesome competition where we have a lot of fun. And yeah, I really love trying to go after something that's as challenging as racing a difficult grid like this, trying to rise to the challenge, become a better player, and that grind, that kind of growth. It's kind of the same thing you do in career mode. You start out in a lower car and work hard to move up through the ranks. You kind of do the same thing in league racing. You're not going to just join it and be a god winning all these leagues, but you slowly grow and you start to go, you maybe from someone that's barely scoring points to maybe getting podiums, to getting the occasional win, to eventually becoming that championship contender. And that whole process of growing and just playing a game I like to play in general is just a lot of fun to me. So into this race, the tire wear is not near as bad as the game anticipates. Whether that's setup or driving style or both, or just the game being dumb, I do not know. But we are going to start on the medium tire and we are going to finish on the soft. So it's a nice one-stop strategy. Using the two softest tire compounds, we know exactly how much fuel we need to put in the car. We don't want to carry any extra fuel in the car because more fuel, you don't go as fast. So don't want to carry extra fuel in the car, but you don't want to risk underfueling, because you don't lose that much time actually from having an extra tenth or even a whole lap of fuel in the car. So it's well worth having an extra lap of fuel in the car than compared to even just having to lift for 2 or 3 corners, you know.
That was the one with the
because you
epic finish.
underfueled and there wasn't a safety car. So always want to err on the side of having more
Here,
fuel, but of course you don't
let
want to
me
carry
do the
extra fuel if you don't need to,
commentary of the
because
last couple of
every
laps.
vital millisecond counts, especially in a very competitive league like this, as you will see,
Remember
as
now?
this race will be very
That guy that
exciting
was
if I
just
do say
stealing
so
the whole
myself.
time.
It's
Six-gun
definitely not
Johnny.
going to be one that
Yeah.
He's having a fucking
we
heart
just fall
attack.
into a position, everyone spreads out, and that's that. That's for damn sure. You're going to see different strategies.
Looks like everybody
You're going to
started on
see
mediums
incidents.
except
You're going to
Sully.
see overtakes. It's the whole kit and caboodle
Inside.
here for the start of this game.
19
And yeah, on the
cards.
formation lap, gotta say, I love the formation
respect
laps
it.
on this game. Every little thing that they add in a game that just adds more immersion to it,
Everybody else is on the
that's
mediums.
what I love about the game. You know, the fact that we can control the car all the way up to the grid, it's just the little details like that just make it a lot more fun, and just adds another layer too. Same thing with the timing of turning into a pit stall. It's just these tiny little things that just add another layer of control to the game, which adds both more immersion and more skill
Like, more than
involved in it. You know, it's not that hard to pull your car into a pit, into your starting grid spot, especially if you practice it a couple times. Same thing with the turn into the pits,
Maybe they
but
don't
it's
know
still
the
kind of
strat.
a skill check that's there. There's time to be lost, and it just makes it so there's less downtime when you're playing the game, which I really like, because it does kind of break the immersion when your car is taken over for you in AI. Yeah, historically speaking, I usually get good grid starts in the F1 game, so I'm hoping the same thing can happen here. We're starting on the medium tires. Everyone else on the grid started on the medium tires as well, except one driver towards the very back of the grid. He went for the hards off the start. So we want to make sure our tires are nice and toasty. And yes, as dumb as it sounds, I did practice this multiple times coming into my grid slot just because I want to get every little ounce of the game that I can. You know, that's just the competitor in me. And yeah, like I said, I just love this extra little detail. It makes it more realistic, and yeah, it just adds another layer to the game, which I appreciate. I do slow down a little bit too early, though. I was kind of worried that it would automatically stop me and say I failed when my car came to a stop, but luckily it let me inch forward again. But hey, you live and you learn. I know I can carry a little bit more speed into the box for next time. I was probably just being a little shaky, thinking to myself, hey, this is the one, this is the league race, don't mess this one up.
Yeah.
And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, those drivers getting disqualified, those are drivers ending in the red on their formation lap in their grid slot. So it just shows these little things can make the difference off the start, which the start of the race can make the difference of the whole race. And unfortunately, we are going to sit here on the grid for a little bit. I don't know what took the game so long, but hey, at least the lobby didn't break, so we're already doing infinitely better than when the F1 2021 game came out. Because anyone that was a league racer during that time knew that, whew, we don't got to go there. Let's just say it wasn't a good time. So yeah, this will be the first race of the season here in Hyperdrive in F1, in our first league race of F1 22. The lights are coming on. Let's see if we can get a good reaction and a good start to our season. Lights are out. We get an okay launch. We're a little bit conservative getting on the throttle. Cars are moving around everywhere. Some people got good starts, some bad. We're going to make sure we brake a little bit early. Cars are absolutely everywhere. There's contact in front of me, and now I'm getting pinched in between two cars. I was trying to just avoid the chaos, but yeah, I'm getting pinched again. I just absolutely can't. I'm trying my best to avoid touching anyone, but it's impossible when you're just the guy, unfortunately, stuck in the middle getting pinched between people. We go from 8th to 11th immediately on the first lap, but we gain a position there around the outside. So, yeah, I'm thinking, whew, glad I didn't get damaged there. But, yeah, it is unfortunate that we went from 8th to 10th off the start, even though I felt like we got a pretty decent start. But hey, like I said, and like I always say when I've been talking to my Road to Masters, what happened in the past happened in the past. I'm just focused on doing the best I can right now and staying focused. I'm still confident in my game plan. I'm still confident in my ability to move forward in this field. And yeah, like I said, we are just staying focused. We are all over the tail of the Aston Martin in front of us. I should also point out that for these races, a good friend of mine and someone that I play games a lot with online, someone that I'm a real life friend with, we would travel to fighting game tournaments together and such. His tag is That Zoo, and he helps me out during these races as my engineer. He has an eye on the stream, so I don't have to. And yeah, if you hear another voice feeding me some information or just casually talking to me at any point in any one of my league racing videos, that's who it is, my good buddy. And yeah, whether it's him helping me out with the league race, playing games together, just chilling, chatting, having a good time, you can always rely on him. And yeah, after lap 1, frustrating that we are in 10th, but yeah, I'm focusing on just keeping things smooth. It's a lot easier to make a mistake and bin it and spin out in this game. I really want to make sure I don't do that in the first race of the season. And my goal is to just get solid points, race to the best of my ability, keep things smooth as I can, nail the strategy, and yeah, see where we end up from here. And I see that this Aston Martin is getting a little punchy with the AlphaTauri ahead, so I'm hoping that either one of them make a move rather quickly, or maybe I can get lucky and there could be a collision between the two. But either way, I just want something to happen, because the last thing I want to do is to sit here on these mediums and just have us all in the same strategy, just following in a line together. I already see the blinking red light on the back of this Aston Martin, which was really surprising me how much ERS people were using. And that's something that I really learned in this league race. And you might hear me talk about it in the background as the race goes on, because I mentioned a couple times to my engineer, compared to last year's game, how good ERS is, or how good DRS is, or how much it slows you down when you're at D rating, which is when that blinking light's going on, which in this year's game, it's once you hit 10% or lower. Compared to last year, it was 50% or lower. It doesn't affect you as much as last year's game. So it is definitely worth it in this year's game to be more aggressive with your ERS usage to ensure that you're still in someone's DRS. Like, DRS is a lot better compared to the ERS than it was in last year's game. I hope what I'm saying makes sense there. So yeah, basically you want to prioritize the DRS way more than your ERS, even if it means, you know, burning it to help keep up with that car ahead, because, you know, it's going to be a net gain compared to just saving the juice but not having the DRS, is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, that's something I learned during this race, and yeah, like I said, just trying to be a sponge of information here early on. That's going to happen a lot, especially when you're doing a bunch of tracks for the first time in a new game. You're going to learn a bunch of stuff that's different from the year before. And yeah, sometimes just a little bit of knowledge can make all the difference. And some of you might be wondering, hey, if I'm doing one-stop strategy using both the medium and soft tire, why didn't I start on the softer tire first so I could be more aggressive off the start, get a better grid start? And the best way I could describe that is as follows. First off, if I'm going to get held up by other cars more often in the beginning of the race when we're more bunched up, I would rather that happen when I'm on the less aggressive tire compound, so it doesn't take away time of the race where I'm on the tire where I need to be aggressive. So basically, I want to have those clean air laps on the soft tire. I'd rather, you know, if I'm going to lose time behind another car, I'd rather it be on the tire that is a little slower. And as you can see, we made a move there on the Aston Martin. Sorry, I got talking, but yeah, we made a little bump on the outside. Now the AlphaTauri is just going to absolutely burn it back around the outside. A lot is happening here all at once. And we're going to hold it here around the outside. The AlphaTauri does have the inside. We're not going to be overly aggressive here. We're just going to slot in just behind him. And yeah, a lot happened there at once. I got a great run down the front stretch, especially with the advantage I have of ERS. As you can see, I'm not wasting it. I feel like I usually do a good job of that. Barely got the move done on the Aston Martin. But because we lost a little time going side by side in the first couple corners, the AlphaTauri is caught up and just got us both on the same straight. Great move by him. And he looked like he accidentally took out a braking marker there, but it is what it is. And but now I see that he doesn't have a blinking light, so I'm not going to have a gigantic ERS advantage on him like I did on the Aston Martin. So I really want to make sure that, you know, I don't waste my juice too much and let him pull away. But yeah, like I said, I'm just not getting overly emotional when I get past or make a pass. Just, hey, just doing the best I can, racing my own race right now and letting things unfold around me. I'm kind of seeing that things are a little bit hectic. We got people making mistakes. We got people battling really hard. And the last thing I want to do is get myself caught up in a stupid incident I don't need to, or getting too aggressive and spinning myself out and just, you know, just completely chalking my race here only on lap 5. And yeah, and speaking of that, it's so easy I know this is the top tier of a 5-tier league, but it's so easy, especially when you're driving right on the limit with a bunch of people that are all top 1%ers at a game. It's so easy to just overstep that micro bit and have the car spin. We'll all do it eventually this season, most likely. But hey, when we see it happen to others, we do smile a little bit because that's free positions for us. And you can see he's getting squirrely here. This is going to allow me to get as close to him as possible. I'm not going to be dumb. I see his light blinking, so he's using the juice. We're going to have an advantage. So whether we do the move here or on the front stretch, I do not quite remember. Yeah, I didn't really get to fully finish my thought with what I was saying on why we start on the medium tire compared to the soft. Another reason for that is because if you think about it, the soft tire stint is when you're faster, right? So at the beginning of the race, you should be pulling ahead, and at the end of the race, the soft runners will pull back on you. Whereas it's vice versa. When you're mediums, the other drivers should be pulling away from you in the softs, and then you pulling back at the end when you're on the softs. So with that in mind, I would rather be faster at the end of the race, and here's the reason why on this track. Because let's say everyone else started on softs and we're on mediums, as we're going to be able to get this move done. It should be without too much of a problem here. We got a big pace advantage. He's going to try to hold it, but whether he holds it here or not, we're going to have the DRS on the next. No, we're not going to have the DRS, but we have a huge ERS advantage, so we'll be able to hold it with no problem. We get another move done. It was a nice move. Up into P8 now, and now we're back into the position we originally started at. But yeah, like I said, the reason I want to use the medium tire at the beginning, based off of the logic I just told you about when you're fast in race, is because the safety car factor. Think of it this way. If I start on mediums and everyone else starts on softs, they're pulling away from me at the beginning of the race. The beginning of the race, when everyone's closer together, is when you're way more likely to have a safety car. So if there's a safety car earlier in the race, which is more likely than the end of the race, that pulls me back up to the people that should be pulling away from me on the medium tire. And then at the end of the race, when we're all just got bunched together by a safety car, they go into the slower tire while I go into the faster tire. So that kind of logic there of just greatly benefiting if there is a safety car in the first 2/3 of the race, basically, is why mediums to softs is faster technically than softs to mediums on a majority of tracks that have a soft medium tire usage in league racing. Because like I said, not just because of that safety car, but also the fact that you don't want to be getting held up as much on the softs, and you don't want a safety car to happen while you're on the softs. Both things are less likely to happen in the second half of the race, which is why I use it in the second half. I know I kind of just said the same thing in 3 different ways, but I'd rather sound stupid saying it multiple ways and making sure you people understand what I'm saying than to just glaze over it, because it is a really important detail of these races, the tire strategy. If you have the wrong tire strategy, you just lose, especially in a high quality competitive grid like this. It doesn't matter if I'm one of the best players in the world in this game. Against this level of competition, if I have the wrong tire strategy, I just lose regardless of how good I play that day. So you really got to make sure you're on your stuff mentally, not just physically on the sticks as well. And as the race drags on here, I don't want to skip too far ahead. So basically, we got our teammate in front of us. We are very slowly pulling up to him. But at the same time, the group of 2 or 3 cars behind me are slowly pulling up to me. So while we do have a little bit of gap between cars right now, it's all kind of like a Constantine effect. We're all kind of coming together slowly. So, but yeah, mentally I'm not worrying about it too much. I'm still sticking to my mentality of, hey, I'm just doing the best I can do, and we'll see where that puts me. Especially round 1, we don't even know who we're fighting in terms of a championship. We don't even know if we can fight for a championship. Who knows? So, yeah, we got our teammate ahead of us. If we could catch him past him, that would be big, because then we get to take the initiative with the strategy. But like I said, if the car behind me catches me and passes me, whatever, let him go. I'm just running my own race at this point. And now coming through the final corner on lap 12, we've still been very, very slowly pulling up to our teammate, and now we finally got the DRS. His light has been blinking. I still have a little bit more than 30%. So I do have both the DRS and ERS advantage here. He has a little bit of lockup going into turn 1. I can tell he's struggling on his tires. He spins the tires, and we get a free move done there. You hate to see it for him, just doing the best he can to try to keep me behind. But yeah, like like I said, that's why I've been not worrying too much if someone's quicker or pulling up to me, because the last thing I want to do is mentally start to panic, push too hard, and make a mistake like that. Because while he only lost 2 spots there, that easily could be you spinning out and going straight to the back, which is the last thing we want. And now we're up to P7. Moving forward in the race always feels good. Yeah, there was that scuffle that held us up on lap 1, but hey, in a very highly skilled competitive lobby like this, we've gone from 10th to 7th here within the first half of the race, which is great stuff so far for us. And as time has progressed, I've used some of my ERS that I had remaining saved up, because I've decided this is the lap where I'm going to pit. I want to get the undercut on the car right behind me, so hopefully I don't have him pressuring me in the second half of the race. Technically, I might have wanted to go a lap or 2 later, because I don't have completely fresh tires since I used them all in qualifying, since I didn't nail my qualifying. But it is what it is. I almost forgot that I had to turn in here. I grabbed my water bottle, put it down quickly, nailed my pit stop. I get the best, one of the best possible outcomes from my pit stop. It only possibly could be a 10th faster, so 2.3 second pit stop. Great stuff by the team. Purples all around, both in our formation lap and our immersive pit stop. So we got the immersive part of this new game down. But right here is another big difference from last year's game to this year's game, and that cold tires are more of a factor. In last year's game, you maybe had cold tires for a corner coming out of the pits, and that was that. But in this year's game, just like real life, you do have pretty rough tires for the first at least half a lap. And while I was somewhat prepared for this from my practice, you're still never feel like you're fully optimized. But what I'm really hoping is that maybe I can get a free position by someone overstepping or forgetting just how slippery these tires are right when you come out of the pits. But yeah, overall, I feel like I could have done a lot worse. Tires at this point are now up to temperature, and we can continue on with the race. Pretty much all the management part's over. We got about half a bar of ERS, which is a lot better than some other drivers are doing. We got our soft tires on that will be taken to the end. Don't even got to think about fuel, because from my practice, I knew exactly how much I could put in without having a lot extra. And yeah, we're looking to start running some people down and see where we end up after the pit cycles. And speaking of the pit cycles, as they continue, coming up here at the end of Sector 1, we had a driver spin out, and that was one of the cars that was fighting up front for the race win. And now we get the free position on him, and I believe he also had a time penalty as well in this race, and that is something that's going to come into play later on. Some drivers have time penalties. The Alpine ahead of us also has a 5-second time penalty. And I believe the Mercedes that spun out, he had only a 3-second time penalty. So even if he's able to catch us back up, we only got to be within 3 seconds of him to take the position after the race. And yeah, we're in 8th right now. Still got at least one. I think we only have one more car yet to pit at this point. And we're looking pretty good. We're kind of on our own here, doing our own thing. But hey, we've been moving forward in the race, not making any mistakes. And that's kind of the best that you can wish for in your first race of the season. And as we pull forward now, lap 24 of 29, the situation kind of is as follows. The Red Bull that was right behind me before the pit stop, he stayed out a couple extra laps before pitting and had some decent pace. So we're going to have to worry about him towards the end, because he's going to be on fresher tires than us and is gaining on us. But also, like I said, the Alpine ahead, you can kind of see him there in front of the Red Bull that's ahead of us currently, that he has a 5-second time penalty. So if I can stay within 5 seconds of him and keep the Mercedes that's behind us within 3 seconds, those are free positions for us. But I do have to worry about the Red Bull behind me. He's both on fresher tires and does not have any time penalties. We don't have any time penalties either. We've been a good boy in this race, and we don't even have so much as a warning for track extension. So yeah, you don't want to ruin your race with time penalties, which is something we all have done at one point or another. And yeah, things did kind of tone down here towards the end of the race. Unfortunately, there isn't much that we can do about the Red Bull behind us. He's going to be able to pass us with no problem. He got 3rd in the championship last year, right behind us. And it also kind of helped that he missed, I believe, the last race of this. Oh yeah, he missed the last race of the season. So yeah, we were able to get 2nd in the championship. He's a very good driver. But yeah, he's going to get us on this point. He made a really good call and had really good pace to go a little bit longer on those medium tires, to have these fresher tires here to be able to make the overtake with no problem. But hey, we're still looking good because the car behind, while it is gaining on us because it has slightly fresher tires and had great pace, he was one of the front runners, he has a 3-second time penalty, and with 3 laps to go, he's not going to be able to pull that on us. And if anything, these guys overtaking us can kind of help ensure that I get another position in turn, because that Alpine is about 4 seconds ahead. But like I said, he has a 5-second time penalty. But now I get free DRS off these guys to help keep me within that range more easily, which, is kind of a blessing in disguise that the Red Bull ended up passing me. And yeah, all the excitement seemed to happen at the beginning of the race. Approaching the last lap, the Mercedes did go behind us, and he disconnects right there at the end. But in the end, it doesn't change the positions at all because he had a penalty anyhow. We're going to cross the line. We get 7th, and we get 6th as well because of the penalty that the Alpine had. There were no post-race penalties for collisions by anyone, which is just great to see. A lot cleaner racing than we had at some points last season. And compared to last season, we did have a random safety car ruin our race. I was clenching my butt cheeks when I pit a couple laps earlier than the other guys, because something that happened to me, I lost count. It was at least, literally, it was at least 10 times last season in the 3 leagues that I raced in that a safety car came out on my outlap, which is just miserable luck, but it is what it is. So at the end, you can see the final rundown here. The winner was Kieran, used to be known as Silly Sly Guy, who was in multiple games, was world record holders on multiple tracks, great drivers. Troye has been improving like crazy over the last 2 years. Danger Times was last season's championship. Julian in 4th was our teammate last season. I should also point out that the grid in this league, they obviously put the top 20 fastest in Division 1, but who's in what car is completely random, which is kind of a cool feature. We end up 6th, right behind the guy that was 3rd in the championship when we were 2nd last year. But there's both pros and cons that I learned from this race. I learned information like how important DRS is, even compared to that of ERS, how a derating ERS doesn't negatively affect you as much as last year's game. And I also learned things about myself, like how, hey, I was happy that I could put together a nice, solid, consistent race, but at the same time, I do need to do better on my 1-lap pace, because if I'm not nailing my qualifying laps, I'm either going to use more tire sets than I need to, or start further back in the pack than I need to. Yes, I'm frustrated that incident happened turn 1, but hey, if I nail my qualifying and I'm ahead of those guys, I'm not involved in the first place. Just do your best and try to just improve on what you can control, and just try to keep your cool when the